It's the election studio with Julian, Clover and me, Lucy Milazzo.
And we're joined now by Dr. Sean Lang, who is the Senior Lecturer at History at Anglia Ruskin University. Good morning, Sean.
Morning. Good morning.
Thank you for getting up early to join us. You'll be hanging around for the next couple of hours with various thoughts of doom and despair. So I think I might have already nicknamed you Dr. Doom. But can we maybe...
My students say something similar.
Can we maybe start off with looking at the national picture and what's happened overnight? Conservatives 358, which is up 47. Labour on 203, down 59. Labour 203, down 59. The SNP on 48, which is up 13. And the Lib Dems on 11, which is down 1. Should also mention the DUP, really, at this point. They are at 8, down 2. So, let's dissect this a little. In terms of Conservative victories, when are we going back to before we've seen a victory like this in the past?
Well, you've got to go back to the Mrs. Thatcher time, really, for anything like this sort of landslide. I mean, it's tempting to say there was the surprise of John Major's victory in 92, and I did hear some people saying that they had an awful feeling that it felt like 92. I mean, when I say people, and people who were hoping for a Labour victory or
yes,
a Labour sort of a better Labour performance, and it's turned out actually far worse than that, because no one had any doubt that the Conservatives would win. I never heard anyone who said anything else, there's
a bit of wishful thinking maybe for a hung parliament in some quarters.
The largest party in a hung parliament,
yes,
or a small working majority, something like that. And I think there are two things really which lie behind it, and they are linked, although people are trying to separate them. One is the Brexit Message, which was a very simple one, nice 3 words. Just as in the referendum, it was take back control, nice 3 words, very easy to understand. And this one, get Brexit done, in the same way that you get this done, and then the open the lands are in front of you. That's the image, of course, that they've created. And the other, of course, was Jeremy Corbyn, and they put the two together. And I'd say two things in the sense of Jeremy Corbyn, because although I'm hearing Labour people sort of saying it's Brexit rather than Jeremy Corbyn, actually you can't separate the two, it seems to me, because Jeremy Corbyn also meant a very unclear message on Brexit from Labour.
His neutral policy.
It didn't make any sense at all. And what I found bewildering was his supporters didn't seem to see that there was anything wrong with a leader of the opposition having no position, indeed no personal position at all, on the major issue of the day, having no policy other than a very vague, we'll have a better deal for you by 3 months, was it? Something like that. And then and even then, we don't know if we'll support it or not. I mean, I've never, ever known a party on a major issue have such a complete dog's dinner of opposition.
The interesting thing...
And yet people didn't see it or wouldn't say that.
The interesting thing about it, they may have been very well rehearsed, but whenever we spoke to anybody from the Labour side on this, be it Daniel Zeichner or Dan Grief or anybody locally, one of the councillors, or you saw somebody on Sky News or the BBC, it wasn't like they were flanelling the answer.
No,
they were convinced that was the way to do it,
as if this is the most reasonable thing in the world. I mean, I saw this on social media. People I know who are very, staunch Labour supporters, and they said we can't understand why people don't see that Labour position is logical and clear. And I thought, why can you not see? It is not clear at all. It is not logical.
I remember in the late summer, I think this was like September time, Keir Starmer was on a visit to Cambridge one weekend, and I interviewed him, Shadow Brexit Secretary, of course, and not unreasonably, what's your Brexit policy, Mr. Starmer? And I asked him that, and I was, fantastic. Yes, that's very clear. By Monday morning, the Labour leadership, other members of the Labour leadership, had said something completely different. It's like you can't even speak to a senior Labour politician in person and get. He did give me a straight answer. The problem was it was a different straight answer to what other journalists were getting.
And there's no getting away from it. Everyone knew that this was the Brexit election, and now it's not a referendum, and you can't have an election on only one issue. And Labour did a very good job in trying to get other issues onto the agenda, notably, of course, the NHS. I have to say, the big absence focus was anything really on the environment, apart from planting lots of trees, which everyone suddenly was in favour of. But other than that, the green issues really weren't there. But this was always going to be the Brexit election, because that's why it was called. That was the whole point of it. And for most people out there, it came down to a very simple thing. We voted in 2016, are we going to have the way of, that we voted for? Yes or no? You knew where you were on Conservatives, you knew where you were with the Lib Dems. And the fact that Labour couldn't give you a clear answer on that was fatal.
I want to quickly look at the result for Cambridge City. And after 8 o'clock, we'll hear some audio from Daniel Zeichner. It's the bewildering thing. We talk of Cambridge being in a bubble. So's this election result, for
Absolutely,
at least as far as Cambridge is concerned. It is virtually unchanged, give or take the odd percentage point here and there.
Yes, and I suppose that's a couple of factors. I mean, one is the nature of Cambridge, which, as you say, is very different from the county. And interesting, I see that South Cams, Anthony Brown took that because in the referendum, at least South Cams was in line with the city.
Yes.
But otherwise, now as we've gone back to normal. So it's partly the nature of the sort of the population of the city, which is so heavily dominated by the universities. I will say in plural, and the sort of spin-offs from that. So Addenbrooke's and the sort of IT technology. So that means that you've got a very highly educated middle class type of constituency, which was heavily Remain. So all of that makes it very different from the county. And the other thing, I suppose, is Daniel's personal standing, because he's been a very sort of popular, well-received, well-liked MP in the time that he's since he's been elected. I'm not saying that the previous ones, Julian Huppard would too, but once Daniel has really sort of built.
I guess there is an advantage for the incumbent, but as we've seen across the country, not something which hasn't applied to that many Labour MPs.
And also,
overnight.
when there is a sort of tidal wave against your party, sometimes the people put that above their personal loyalty to you. So he's done well, I think it seems to me, to maintain it, because it wasn't guaranteed.
Well, as I say, we'll hear from Daniel Zeichner after 8 o'clock. We'll also hear more from Dr. Sean Lang. Thank you for now. Sean will go up to the news with this one from Squeeze, and we're really up the junction on Cambridge 105 Radio.